everybody, it's Andy from the SA Survival, and we had a problem with the off-road trailer, Oasis. Was away last weekend and we covered 57k on pretty rough, graded, potholed roads, which was a good test before we go to Alaska. The problem was the Timbren suspension. Now, this is not a bash at Timbren suspension, because I don't know how it would work if we had the correct suspension on the trailer. The problem we had was, just to let you know, the trailer I was informed was 1,700 pounds. Now the problem is, we measured the trailer a couple of years ago, I want to say about 2 years ago. We weighed it in at just under 2,400 pounds, and the suspension that is on the trailer is only rated for 2,000 pounds. I have been in communication with Timbren, and we upgraded the rubber spring, and I bought new 2,000 pound trailing arms for the suspension, and we wanted to see how it was going to perform. It performed flawlessly through Colorado. We didn't have a problem. Gemini bridges, it was great, didn't have a problem. But the heavy pounding on this off-road we did the other weekend, it just collapsed again. I'll show you in a minute what I mean. So I've decided I'm going to scrap the suspension. I have talked to other people and they said they've never had a problem with Timbren suspension. And again, this is not a bash about Timbren suspension. But, hello Bella. But we have decided to make it safe for us to travel. And again, minimum of 2,000 kilometers on the login roads, if you want to call it that, up to Tuktoyaktuk. I just don't trust it. My gut's saying there is a problem, and please do not take this suspension, because we're going to have a problem on the road and we're going to be, stranded. So I'm going to go back and put in a full beam and leaf spring suspension on the Oasis. Now, what happened? Let me show you. The problem is, as you can probably see there, this whole bushing system in here has failed. Now, there is a grease nipple right here, and I have pumped grease into here. So for those people that know about Timbren and you're going to say I haven't greased it, yes I have. The bushing is actually worn with the steel bushing that's inside to the polyurethane bushing. There is this much play, and this is the right side axle. And I'll show you what happened to the axle on the vehicle to what happened to the frame. So this play is so excessive, I come back and I actually put new grease in, and still the grease just oozed out. See if I can get a better shot for you. And you can see that much play. So yes, I did take it all apart prior to making this video, and I just come up with this idea of showing you what happened. There's no point showing you all the fun stuff that we get up to and also not showing you the stuff that's failed. And again, this is not a bash about Timbren suspension. This is not that at all, because we already know what the problem is. Now, to put the 3,500 pound Timbren suspension in, problem I have is this one's worn out. 3,500 would take the 2,400 easily, but it's a polyurethane bush. I just don't know how good and if my confidence is there right now. Other people swear by it and it works. You could go to other people's YouTube channels who are into the off-roading and overlanding and trailering, and there are people out there that say, rubber polyurethane bushings don't work if they're part of the axle. So that's why I'm going to revert back to beam suspension with leaf springs. Beam axle with leaf springs, just because it's tried and tested. Independent suspension has been great for us. If I had the money and the research to find another brand or another company to do it, yes. But 3,500 also wouldn't fit the mounting because of the situation of where the 2,000 pound had been mounted. Because the holes would be drilled upon the new holes to be drilled would be just a hair on the existing holes, so I'd have to weld them all up, drill new ones. It's just a lot more work. again, my confidence in it is just not there. So we are going to go to a tried and trusted thing. Now let me show you what happened to the wheel arch. So the wheel collapsed inwards, and this was the effect. This piece I just cut out just to see how much of the fiberglass was flaking. So it rubbed here, rubbed right through here, and we are going to re-fiberglass this just to make it waterproof. I've taken the existing Timbren suspension out, and I've cut this L bracket out of here. You can see the piece just there, because I need to mount the hangers for the new suspension along here. So I'm going to weld a new bracket onto here to bring it out another inch to support the hangers. I'm going to change the hub face on the drums, bring it out another inch as well. So hopefully we'll have a bigger gap on the body, which just puts us within the lip of this, and then the suspension will be a bit lower. So I'm hoping to have kept roughly the same height inside of the arch. If not, it'll be a bit lower, which means the trailer will be a bit higher, which I'm okay with. So so that's part of the project right now, is to fix this all up, and we've got until July to get it done, but I want to try and get it done by late May if I can, because this is still going to be driven off-road to make sure everything works. So I've glassed both sides. This will get painted when I'm finished, because I want to weld today. This bracket has been clamped. This is roughly where this is going to sit, in line with the center. This has got to come back a little bit, and then this will be mounted to this, and I'm going to weld this tonight. So both sides have got the fiberglass in place. This will get sprayed with some sort of underbody paint all up in here after I've cleaned it all. Then this will get welded tonight. From there, that'll get underbody painted as well all the way across. Then the hangers will be welded in. Just got to make sure this one's in the right place. Been planning this, and then that'll get painted. Then we can mount this temporarily, and then the axle's going to sit underneath, so it's going to raise the trailer up a little bit. So far it's looking pretty good. This is the other side. This got replaced as well, so because it was just a bit inside of here. It wasn't as bad as the other side. This axle seemed to be way better. So yeah, looking forward to getting the welding done. You can see the prepped area here. It's going to get an inch out on both ends. This side has got to go down, as you can see here, it's about a ½ inch down. I'm just debating right now. So before welding, I've pulled the batteries out of here so that we don't blow any electronics up. And just to confirm, I've got nothing going on in here. Battery is totally disconnected. Solar is not generating any light, or light is not creating any solar, which is charging anything up at the back. So we are safe. So I have glassed all of this. This is going to get painted. This is now going to get cleaned. I got the brackets in. These are just yeah, it's slightly offset because to muck around with the spacer I was like debating on what to do. So this is about a ½ inch, I should say here, ½ inch higher, but with the pendulum of the suspension I think I'm going to be okay with it. So from the bottom shackle, sorry, from the top shackle mount here to the hanger bracket mount on this system that I've got, it has to be 23.5 inches, and that's precisely what I've got. It's not centered, it's actually back a little bit, and that's to allow the flex of the wheel to move towards the rear. These are welded on. I had to add a plate between here and this gusset here, and that's what this is. The welding has been doubled up in certain areas, and this bracket's secured. So I have a bit more space between here and the tank, whereas I don't have that much space on the other side, and that's because of these brackets, of which I found with my breather something had worn. So the breather that was up in here, which I'll show you later, has to be modified. So this wiring is going to get some protection on it. It's going to get mounted inside of the hanger on this side, and then up here on the back end. And I'll show you the other side as it's completed, as in mounted, and then we just got to wait for the axle to turn up. This will get cleaned and painted along with the inner arch, just to make it a bit more waterproof. So here it is. This is just hung. I've protected the wiring with the anti-chafing wrap. Again, same as this side. This is about just under 5 inches from the wheel arch. I've measured and checked the alignment. This is loose, it hasn't been mounted correctly yet. And then this will all get these holes will become cable tie holes, hold all that together, and then I will split this once this is tight, and then I'm going to look at how to route that. This one may end up coming through the middle here, I don't know yet. Not a big fan of that bit. This piece is fixed, so it won't be a hindrance when it's all secured. This one I got to look at. It is coming along, and again, you can see here, solid, protected again. Now, just got to paint this as well, clean it all out. So I got the new axle. It's 64 inches from hub face to hub face. I put a 4-inch drop on the hubs actually, because when I sort of balanced this area out and put the wheel in, the wheel arch gap from here to about here looked just stupid. So I put a 4-inch drop on the axle, as you can see over there. I'm going to wire up the electric brakes. We've got the springs in. We've painted the fenders and the inner wheel arches with the fiberglass that we've repaired it with. We've painted the body. We've just got to secure the bolts on the springs, and we've got to mount this today. Another project that we've got on with as well is we've painted the cork. We've been finding a little bit of water coming in here when it's raining, even with all the tops, right just there. So we decided that we're going to highly gloss this whole area, and we're going to do the same here. And the slide has been done, so we want to waterproof that before we start ruining this, because we love this trailer. This trailer is amazing. So a lot of work today. So this is the slide, we've got that going, and the axle we had purpose built. The axle has been made for us by Pacific Spring and Axle out of Langley, British Columbia. And we had it made specifically for the width of the trailer. I was not going to go with new brakes. I wanted to use my old ones, which worked, and they were perfectly fine. The downside is this trip we're going on, we just wanted to make sure everything was good. With having the new Easy Lube axles, the thing that we wanted to do is, you know, have brand new bearings, and then the decision was to end up getting brand new brakes. So I have backup brakes, but the bonus is, what I didn't know is when you gut the brakes, it comes with nuts, and we were about to buy spare nuts just in case we lost one on the road because of the corrugations that we're expecting. So now we've got 10 spare nuts because of the old brakes. So not that I am planning on losing any nuts for the wheels, but this gives us an advantage. This is awesome now. Looking forward to putting this in today. It looks like I lost my microphone again, but anyway, we put the wheels back onto the trailer, even in the raised position, and we're now going to have a look between the wheel arch and the tire itself. It looks pretty good so far. You can see that I've realigned the breather pipe there, which we'll talk about in a little while. But look at that now. We've got 2 inches at least between the wheel arch now and the side of the tire, which was never there before. We had like max 1/4 of an inch, and every time it flexed it just kept rubbing. So the gap for me is really cool, and you can see there that the suspension is not touching. The brackets that I've welded on to assist with the hangers is, you know, the extra inch is perfect. And yeah, the gap is looking really good. I can't believe how good this actually is. I mean, my math is terrible, and I did measure roughly without having an axle, especially a beam axle. Fed it back to Pacific Spring and axles, and they made a wonderful job. The breather there, that is just purely for the water tank, and you can see the gap between the wheel arch and the fender is pretty uniform. I'm really happy with this. So I am going to use blue Loctite on the about the first 1/4 an inch on the thread, because that's how much is exposed, and that's because these nuts are not tight on the thread, and there is no locking washers or nuts. I don't know if you can see that, but these are just a normal nut with a normal washer. So I'm just going to put a bit of Loctite up under here just to protect any hassle for me coming off. And wind the nuts down evenly, and then do the same again to the rear U-bolt, if I don't throw it away. So again, and the blue is easy enough to crack open. It's not green or red where it's bionic, so if I need to get it off for some whatever reason, I will be able to. Again, make sure we bring the nuts down to the same sort of thread depth as each other, so they're not going to be putting stress on the other ones. I did have to cut this top plate right here, I don't know if you can see that, and I did grind this back, and there was a bit of weld here that I ground back. This is from the tank support, because when this suspension does float, it might come close to that, so I'm hoping it won't, and I think we did okay with that. That is it. All I'm going to do now is wire up the brakes. The brakes will be good. I'll probably feed that round the back of here. like that, and we'll be good. Okay, so took the wheels back off, soldered the wires for the brakes up in here, and then I added the skid plate that was on before. And all I've done is this bar was there purely for the rigidness of the Timbren suspension, so I've cut 3 inches off of each end, and then because the plate worked well, I've just used the screw holes in this plate, and I tack welded just there, and the same on that end, only in those spots. There's no rigidity in this. This is just purely a beam to hold the skid plate on. I mean, it's only a piece of tin, and this is how it was before, but nothing interferes with the suspension. Likewise over there. So I'm just reusing that just to stop any dirt and water and mud and sticks and everything else going up inside there and puncturing the water tank that's behind there. That's all it's for. It's just there for a protection, and it's not a heavy-duty protection, we know that. But it'll stop a lot of the stuff, the crud. That's good. So now I am going to add a ground. You can see those 2 wires. I don't have a thick enough wire, so I'm going to join those 2 together, because the batteries aren't grounded in the trailer. So I'm going to add a ground to the chassis to the 2 batteries, so that the power flows through both the 12-volt batteries. So these are the 2 batteries that Oasis has. They are 2 610 cold cranking amp batteries. They're tiny little fellas. The problem I had was these grounds, 2 of them, which seem to go to this power box, and one of them is a ground that goes from there to the back of the trailer. They were all connected to this negative on the front, or I should say the rear battery. All the positives were on the positive, which meant that this, well, it was getting charged and discharged, but not very accurately. So this is a negative, this is a positive, this is a negative, this is a positive, positive, negative, negative, positive. So I've taken all the negatives from here and I've put them all onto this one. All the positives are on this one, and then hopefully everything will flow from both batteries out. And that's the quick fix. And then I used these 2. I'm not sure if you can see these 2 here. They are together now, and they go to chassis ground, which the batteries never had a chassis ground before. So I've done that because I just want to make sure when I'm using my DC-DC battery in the back of the truck that this power is getting charged to these batteries on the positive side, which is this one right here, and on the negative side, and that the truck can charge this as well as solar. So that's the battery fix. Now we can get Oasis onto her feet and hopefully see how she looks. So right now I'm pumping up the tire because, if I get out the sun here, the roof box on the right, as we're looking at the trailer, does not clear the top of the garage right there. So we tried this yesterday, so I deflated this, the left side tire, which is right here, down to 0, and we could roll it out, and yeah, just right there, it wouldn't clear the garage. I'm just using the Milwaukee inflator to get her all pumped up, but it looks good. I like the fact it looks even both sides. With the wheel in, you can see the repair. The brace bar right here that we installed, and here. And I'll wait for the compressor to stop and I'll show you underneath of the trailer. So yes, somewhat uniformity between that gap there and that gap there, but don't forget there's a shackle suspension, so it's going to sort of rise to the rear. The breather is a lot further out of the way, and that works just like so. and that's just to stop any water from coming out or allowing the tank to breathe. And if we look from underneath, we have, like I said, 2 inches up there, which is awesome. So we're not going to get any rubbing going on. From the back end, the skid plate protection, and from the front end, purpose-built axle from Pacific Spring and Axle in Langley, like I said, and it's looking awesome. Next test is to go and do a road test. So yes, we now have the 35-pound axle that's weighted and sized to the 2,400-pound trailer, which is awesome. So we also have a new addition, the hitch. We updated the previous off-road style hitch like this one, and now we got the max coupler. The reason why I got this is I didn't feel happy with the bolt here and the way the pivot worked in here, because the grease just seemed to come out and it just seemed to flop around. There wasn't any seal in it. But now this feels way more secure, and it has an SAE number down there, which apparently the transportation authorities like to see. So I can drive now without having to take both hitches. I can actually take this one and we can ride off-road and on the road with it. So that was the other update for the hitch. The nice thing about this is you can get about 45 to 90 degrees vertical, up and down, and it will roll 360 degrees. So we road tested the trailer. The axle feels great looking through the mirrors. The spring rate looks good, and really happy with the outcome on this. So looking forward to getting her out on the trails now to get camping. We've got to do a couple of weekends away before we actually take her up to Alaska, make sure everything works fine. Doesn't seem to be any more bounce in the suspension than what we had before. So yeah, overall, I can't believe my measurements worked, because I'm really bad with my measurements, but everything just lined up and fell in. I was worried about the toe. It seemed to be the right side toed out and the left side toed in, but once everything settled down and measured front to back, from the tire to the frame, it all zeroed out to a neutral position. So let's just hope and pray that that measurement worked out and we don't have any wear. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. The extra inch that I couldn't get out of the garage, when I mounted it up to the trailer, it doesn't look bad at all. It actually looks really good with the trailer and the back of the truck in the way of being level, as in, you know, trailer and truck being level, not up or down or anything like that. So don't have to do any hitch modifications like turn the hitch receiver upside down. So I'm happy about that as well. So yeah, super pumped. It was a great attempt at doing some more welding that I haven't done for a long time, and also getting stuff that I've never really done before in the way of alignment and putting axles on and stuff like that. Couldn't have done it with the help of Pacific Spring and Axle, because they sort of had to deal with all my end conversations. I was back and forth for about 10 days, just like making sure, trying to figure it out, you know. It's just me sounding off, and I'm sure they were going, this dude's just out of his head. But, you know, thanks for putting up with me, guys, and it was awesome. Thank you very much for watching this episode of replacing an axle when you have a damaged one or a worn out one. So the road trip that I'm going to do now is to the dump and throw the other steel away and recycle that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to now being safe on the highway. You know, 2,500 plus kilometers on corrugations and potholes, so that peace of mind has now become secure. Thanks for watching this episode. Keep in tune, please like and subscribe and hit that bell if you want updates on when we're announcing any more videos. Survive to be alive.